Hello, this is Gabriel, and welcome to the last section of Step 4, Committing to the Plan of Action. So, why will we be spending a few minutes discussing a Moti plan? How is a Moti plan different from the other plans that you're used to? Well, first of all, it focuses on improving human motivation. Your own motivation, the motivation of your team, motivation in your organization if you happen to be a senior leader. So at a superficial level, it's about improving team dynamics and performance. It's about ensuring that staff and volunteers are okay, that you don't have a high rate of burnout. It's about avoiding high turnover, staff and volunteer retention, and all that. But at a deeper level, we're dealing directly with emotions, fears, anxiety, stress, conditioned behaviors, mindsets, mental models. And we're aiming to work on these in the hope of increasing people's experience in the organization, in their volunteering activity, at their job. We want to increase hope, satisfaction, fulfillment, gratitude, replace these fears and anxieties with more fulfilling emotions. At a personal level, it's about developing leadership skills. And these leadership skills we all need to practice if we want to become better parents or better spouses, better friends, and of course, better colleagues. So the Moti plan of action, and this is how it's really different from the other plans that you might be used to, is really about practicing the soft skills that we all need to become better leaders in our team, in our organization, in our community. So it's about self-improvement in a way. It's about us. It's not about other people, the beneficiaries, the clients. It's about making the world a better place by starting with ourselves and our team and our organization and our communities, our family, etc. So a Moti plan is really about learning and changing. It's about changing your own behavior and not just the behaviors of others. So there are really three levels to change. There's the personal level, which is answering the question in very practical terms of how do I become a better person? How do I contribute to the well-being of others in my team? How can I be the change I want to see in others? How can I lead by example? At team level, it's about what we are committing to as a team to increase our well-being through an enhanced sense of belonging, a shared vision, values, and meaning. And at the organizational level, it's how do we address the management processes and culture that frustrate our work, or how can we create a better corporate culture and a better leadership style at all levels of the organization, so that way we can all thrive and be happier and therefore more effective at work. Again, it's about leading by example. This is not about moralizing other people and how they should be behaving. This is about us and our own improvements. And in doing so, we show that we're more trustworthy. And by being more trustworthy, we instill more trust and meaning and enthusiasm in our organization. So, three levels of responsibility. The first level is really you, me. And this is what you see at the center of these concentric circles. There's some things that really belong to me and that are my own private business, really. So my values, it's up to me to defend my values. It's up to me to align my value, rather to accept things from my organization that are compatible with my values. There's absolutely no reason why in the Red Cross Red Crescent of all places, something should be imposed on me that does not correspond to my personal values. And if I'm going to work in a team, that team needs to have meaning for me, and it is for me to define that meaning. In the same way, it is really up to me to do what it takes to be as fully engaged as possible in the work of the team and in fulfilling the obligations of the organization. This is my responsibility. I'm not going to wait for some authority figure to tell me to be more engaged. It's part of my contract. Even if I'm a volunteer, I have a moral obligation to be engaged when it comes to doing humanitarian work. And then, if I feel emotionally drained, if I feel that I'm maybe on the verge of burnout, this is my own personal health. It does not belong to anybody else. It is really up to me as a mature adult to take things into my own hand. I should not have to wait for somebody to tell me, oh, Gabriel, you look really tired. You should take a day off. No, I'm a mature adult. I know what I need to do to stay healthy. So these are my responsibilities. They're your responsibilities as an individual. And obviously, the team and the organization can help. But it's really up to me to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm fully engaged and that I'm capable of meeting my obligations and my commitments. Now, the supervisor, my supervisor, and the other members of my team can help here. And here we see that, the fact that I feel understood, the fact that I feel that people do care about me and that I feel part of a group, that people are friendly with me, that I can engage in meaningful dialogue. Well, this really depends also on my team. I mean, I'm not all by myself on an island. If I want to have a meaningful dialogue, I need to have somebody to have that dialogue with. So this is where the team level comes in. And it is not just the responsibility of the supervisor to make sure that these things are happening in the team. It is also my responsibility as one of the team members to lead by example and to engage in meaningful dialogue, to demonstrate my own understanding of the situation, and to show that I care about the people in the team and that I make everybody feel part of that group. The third level is the organizational level, and this is really the contractual responsibility of managers and of senior leadership. And so, for example, we know that many people are very looking forward to learning new skills. Well, the organization can provide opportunities beyond training of personal and professional development. And in fact, Moti is one of these things. There have been Secretary Generals who have engaged in Moti exercises in the organization as an offer for learning new skills to volunteers and staff. But also, an organization should be at least aware that the way they reward responsibilities does have an impact on the other aspects. So on my engagement and on the level of understanding and care that you have in different teams. So the Moti plan needs to take this into account. A plan does need to clearly identify responsibilities. All the more so that, as you can see on this diagram, we have linked together the different aspects that are captured by Moti, and there are causalities. And so you see that a lot depends on me, whether I'm emotionally drained and frustrated. Well, I can, use the fact that I'm part of a group that's functional to help me alleviate my frustration. And then I can also, if I feel frustrated, remind myself that people do care about me, and rather than being a nuisance and complaining all the time. So if you want to have a look at this graph, please pause the video, because this graph is actually a graphical presentation of correlations from one country that did a nationwide Moti exercise with volunteers. So these lines actually correspond to statistical correlations between the different variables that we measured with the Moti survey nationwide. and the thickness of the line represents the strength of the association. Now, you might say, okay, these are just correlations, but because this is based on self-determination theory, we can assume that if we have a correlation, there is a possibility that there is causation. And so now you see how everything is interlinked and intertwined. I have an impact on other people in the same way that my organization, i.e. all the other people in my organization, starting with the managers and senior leadership, have an impact on people who work in the organization. So this is the science that underpins a Moti plan. So now I will give you two examples. The example of a team plan. So this is an example of a team that did a Moti exercise, and they came up with a plan. And then the second example will be about a nationwide plan. So this team, notice that there were it was a good team in the sense that everybody gave a good score. So it was a very functional team. But there were two dimensions that clearly could be improved. The first was well-being, and the second was belongingness to the team and team meaning. So this is the plan. At the personal level, people decided and committed personally to take responsibility for our own well-being. I'm saying "our" because I'm pretending I'm part of the team. So we will continue to reflect at a personal level on how we manage our well-being. So we're taking responsibility. We also take responsibility for planning our work by prioritizing what is important over what people tell us is urgent. We also continue reflecting on what we expect of other team members as colleagues, but also as human beings. So that's to work on the sense of belonging too. And at team level, we will continue, we will learn from each other's work. So one idea here, I believe, was that because there wasn't a great sense of belonging and of team spirit, the team thought that if they could learn from each other's work and take the opportunity of a constructive dialogue, it would build a sense of team, even though the different members of the team did not really need to collaborate because they were on different working on different topics. So more solidarity, especially when there's a big workload. And then the unit manager committed to check everyone's workload more closely, to avoid emotional drain from overwork, to help prioritize, to avoid workload. And when our work is frustrated, the manager will continue to escalate issues, especially when the work is blocked by unresponsive colleagues. Now, part of the team plan is also about team building. So here, the team decide we will focus on improving team spirit by creating opportunities to connect around learning and focus effort and time on important things that have an actually positive impact on clients and colleagues, and also to conduct a Moti survey in 6 months to see if the strengths have been sustained and to see if there were improvements in team meaning and belonging. Now, because this is data-driven, the team set itself targets. So well-being and team meaning and belongingness were seen as not as strong as the other variables. So we target 4, from 3.6 to 4 in well-being, from 3.4 to 4 in team meaning, from 4.2 to 4.5 in belonging. And the supervisor thought that a score of 4.4 in understanding was too low, and so she decided it will be 4.6. So let's go to the other organization, the other example. So this is the example from which we have this graph, these correlations, and the analysis of the data and of preliminary conversations came up with the following insights. The Moti results are overall encouraging, but well-being could be higher. The associations between responses tell us that frustration increases with higher leader listening and understanding skills, and with higher alignment with team members. The reason for that is that people talk to their leader who listens and understands, yet is unable to unblock situations that are due to the bureaucracy. The third action point was to discuss, to get the different teams to discuss the following: to ask why volunteers are emotionally drained, if there was a problem with shared meaning, and why do so many feel that staff and other volunteers don't care about them, and why do some volunteers not feel part of a group. So in more details, discuss in teams to understand the sources of stress and frustration and barriers to belonging. This is for volunteers. The level is branch and teams. Bring team members together in an open discussion to better understand sources of frustration, barriers to belonging. Now, you'll notice here in the previous video, I said that a Moti discussion is not one meeting. It's an ongoing discussion, an ongoing conversation where we check in and we discuss and we see what changes with the plan of action. So it's an ongoing process that does not stop with a workshop. And now also the third point, you'll notice, record key decisions in a team action plan. So here, this is a somewhat top-down approach where headquarters launched a nationwide survey, saw the results of all the different branches and teams, and is therefore suggesting to support the teams to have their own team action plan, somewhat similar to the example one. Review decision-making processes, compile lessons learned. And this is where documenting is important. We want the teams to commit to a plan based on the key findings that they have analyzed around the Moti results, but we also want them to share what they have learned at the central level so that the senior leadership of the organization can have a bird's eye view on all the different issues that the teams are facing, and they can see patterns and trends. So there's some things that all the teams are facing. This is clearly an organizational problem that they should be addressing. And then in some cases, you have problems that are specific to one or two teams, and that problem should be addressed at the team level. The plan of action is about anticipating what will be needed to implement these things and then to measure if these things have had an impact or an effect. And so if you decide to have a second Moti survey 6 months down the line, then you are actually giving a deadline for these things to happen, and you're giving an incentive for the teams to keep track, to monitor the progress of their plan so that they can have a higher score 6 months down the line. Knowing that in this particular case, the survey results do go to headquarters where they are also analyzed in view of dealing with the organizational level issues. So basically that's what it looks like. 3 main actions. It's on a timeline, and it ends with a Moti check-in, a second Moti survey. So this was perhaps a little long, but I wanted to stress the differences between a normal, usual work plan and a Moti plan of action. Now, the next step, the last step of the 5 steps to a successful journey is actually implementing the plan of action. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.